he's innocent, and it's up to the state to bring evidence and a jury to decide if that's different.
Essentially convicted in the media. You don't have to read but a few articles to see how negative they are about him. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent.
They call it the August effect. A quiet pull, a heart's compass, finding its gravitation. A promise whispered to the future. Sunrise paints the window pane a hazy gold. A story in my chest that's waiting to unfold. Used to trace the lines of maps I'd never seen. Now the greenest pasture grows from deep within. Letting go of every anchor, every chain, washing off the dust in cool September rain. This is the freedom, wild and new, the future calling, breaking through. A heart's true north, the sky of blue. This is the promise coming true. The road ahead is unwritten, vast and wide. No need to run, no reason left to hide. Every step a choice, every breath my own. On this open field of chances I have sown. This is the freedom, wild and new. The future calling, breaking through. A heart's true north, a sky of blue. This is a prominent true. The August effect, I understand it now. It's the faith you find somehow. The promise coming true for you. The greenest pasture, free.
Wow, wow, wow. Good morning, everyone. And I am so thrilled to be here. I'm your host, Phoenix. This is Phoenix Talks, and this is the community where we come together to find the truth. We look through crime scene photos. We look through evidence, court records, documents, body cam footage. We look at things like we would be either the defendant or the prosecutor. And we come here together as a community to find the truth. And I will tell you, I am doing this special live today. I am going to do the 6 hours on Friday for Freedom Friday. It will be a 6-hour recap of what were the top videos, what were the top evidence that we found, the things that we put together. And when I say we, I mean you and me. I don't mean just me. I will say this. There is a video I'm going to share this morning, and we're going to get into, is this the evidence that will free? If you listen to the music before the stream started, I put that together based on Brian Koberger's writings to his sister Amanda. And it's pretty darn powerful when you begin to think about this full circle. Will the hair evidence set Brian free? Drop a 1, drop a 2 if you don't think it's going to set him free. Drop a 1 or just start the discussion. Excuse me, I got hiccups. Start the discussion. Hold on, I'm going to hiccup again. Take a drink of water. Or will it start the discussions of how did this evidence get pushed to the side? And we're going to get into that right now because this is huge. This is bigger than you may not even realize. I'm going to show you a clip. We're going to get into it. Welcome, everybody. Hello, all you OGs in the house this morning. Good morning, Caleb. I see Lulu Bell is in. Allison, make Chevy square again. Dina's in the house. Whoop, whoop to my mods. Lulu Bell, you rocked our world yesterday. Thank you so much. Just Jackie, good morning. No talkie before coffee. Kay, Kaz girl, what a blessing you are. You are so welcome here. Everyone is welcome here. We're not going to turn anyone away, but if you're acting like a clown or a troll, or you're not into reading, period, like the evidence, the court documents, watching the hearings, the testimonies, everything available, please just don't even comment. Okay? Don't comment, because you know what? A good spy is a quiet spy. A good troll is a quiet troll. And a good clown is a quiet clown. We're not going to turn away anyone who wants to be here, but don't come and bring rumors and start trouble. Now, obviously, before a stream, I have to clearly state the legal disclaimer. We're not here to slander, cause harm, hurt anyone, organization, or entity. That is not our goal here. We are not here to defame, slander, or defame anyone. Okay. And obviously the copyright disclaimer, I'm going to give that to you also, because honestly, we are not intending to copyright any other creator. If it's public, then we're going to go ahead and share it. And that goes for anything that you've seen here on the channel before, after today, during, whatever, whatever you're looking for. All right. And I appreciate every single one of you that has popped in here. There is the copyright disclaimer. It is taking a little while to load, and we talk about some serious issues here. We're not just talking about the IDAHO4 because we're deep diving. I've talked about so many other cases where I have been able to FOIA information that didn't make sense to me and found evidence, found things that could change publicly in the eyes of the law that people do not recognize, that we need to talk about. And I'm going to share this video with you real quick. We're going to watch this. Let me see if I can make it a little larger, and then we'll get into it. So welcome in, everyone. Good to be here today on this Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, August the 4th. I can't believe it's August. Christmas is in 4 months. Shh. Guys. Tag a friend, share, like, hype, subscribe. Here we go.
His filing mentions exculpatory discovery, referring to evidence that was in your book, Broken Plea. So talk to me a little bit. And I know you and I have spoken before. We've done another podcast, but for the listeners who may not have listened or watched this before, who are now just tuning in because they're interested to see what the likelihood is of this plea request being granted, tell me what you think he is going to rely on in this filing to the court based on what was in the book. So talk to me about those evidentiary issues that you think his team may now be relying on based on what you uncovered.
I looked in the book at what Bill Thompson and the prosecuting team alleged were ready to prove in trial, and what we base all of this conversation on is the three-prong prosecution, the white car, the white sedan, the Hyundai Elantra, the cell tower information analyzed by the FBI's CAS team by DNA found on the snap of the knife sheath in the third floor bedroom in proximity to Maddie Mogan. That's what Bill Thompson laid out at the change of plea hearing. So when I wrote this book, I tried to do something that I haven't seen very many places very many other books like this, where I, as a former FBI agent, said, I'm going to look at this evidence as if I were building a grand jury presentation myself with a federal prosecutor, looking at the evidence itself. Did I talk to the families? No. Koberger? No. Did I talk to the investigators? No. Why? Because I didn't think I'd learned something 3 years after the fact when I had the information in front of me. And as we've discussed, I got access to a staggering amount of information that looked at all of these three things, a lot more. That's what I wrote about in the book. So the book has a spine of primary source documents that looks at it in a forensic, evidence-based manner at what the prosecution alleges and what the defense would have argued. And that comes down to those three things. What among those would Brian Koberger now look at as exculpatory? And what did Ann Taylor tell him? That's what I don't know. Nobody knows.
Right.
And I'm going to stop it there just for a quick break, because no one knows if Brian Koberger knew this information. We don't even know if Ann told Brian Koberger this information. And what has come across my mind when I watched this and I started thinking about is, did Ann tell Brian that the FBI report said it was not his hair? Has anybody questioned that? Has anybody questioned that? We're going to get into it deep and really dark this morning. So make sure hit the thumbs up button. You haven't missed much. If you just came in, hit it 2x and finish watching what we're watching.
Yes. If Brian Koberger received effective counsel, one might imagine that he was privy to all the information that the prosecution had, and that his defense team would have explained to him what had been accepted in any of those motions before Judge Hippler, by Ann Taylor's office, and what might stand in his defense. And that's what we're talking about right now. I did point out a lot of those things in the book. I don't know which of those things that he was told beforehand. I don't know which of those things Ann Taylor discussed with him. And I don't know which one of those things that he might now claim give him a better case. But, I think that's clearly what he's intimating.
Well, which is interesting, right? Because it is going to come down to that, because quite often, and as we see in appeals that happen all over the country, especially in big cases, namely Scott Peterson, right? You have Scott Peterson's team going back to the court saying, we have this evidence, things that weren't tested, things that weren't done. And the court is saying, yeah, but you were aware of these things. None of this is new. And I think that that's going to be part of some of that conversation here. And that's going to be interesting when we learn about what Brian Koberger says he knew versus didn't know, because just because a defense attorney made a tactical decision not to test evidence or not, that doesn't mean that you had ineffective assistance. It may just mean that they made a tactical decision and you were aware of these things. And now you don't get to have buyer's remorse where you just turn around now and you say, oh, well, they didn't do all of these things that I wanted them to do. But I knew they existed and I still pled anyway. And I when the judge asked me if I was satisfied with my lawyer, I said yes. So it is a very difficult burden for him. I think in Idaho, the term that the legal term that they use is there has to be a manifest injustice, and he has to be able to prove that there was a manifest injustice and that his lawyer was incompetent, and there's all these other factors. So I think that it's really going to be interesting as this hearing moves forward to hear if now he's just saying, well, I wish they would have done these things versus these are things I did not know about.
Yeah, and I think right off the bat, because I don't take a stand in this either way. This book, Cold's Broken Plea, it's not a wrongful conviction statement. I don't make that claim in any way. But I do point out that Ann Taylor and her office filed a significant number of motions before the court concerning evidence, what was acceptable in court and what would not be. Everything from her stated, she didn't want Bill Thompson's office to call him a psychopath in court, right? From that extreme to DNA and various other things. what of those things could not have been conveyed to Brian Kohberger would be very difficult to understand. It's hard to believe that a defense attorney would make a statement or make a petition for the court relative to the evidence and not tell her client about that.
Correct.
So based on the tiny amount of information in his initial filing, we just can't tell. We just don't know what he is going to allege he didn't know about.
Right.
And Ann Taylor hasn't said anything yet. So we don't know what she's certainly going to have a position on this as well.
Well, and when you take a position that your lawyer was ineffective, you open the door for that lawyer to now come forward at a hearing and say maybe a lot of things you might not want on the record. So that opens up the door to that too. So it'll be interesting to see the way Ann Taylor decides to deal with that. And I know most lawyers that are in that position still honor the attorney-client privilege, but technically under the law, if you're making claims that your lawyer was ineffective, your lawyer has the ability to then discuss things that may have been privileged because now you're waiving that privilege by making the claim. So it's like you said, there's so many interesting and complicated legal issues here that we're gonna have to see how this goes down. And unfortunately, and hey, I am a criminal defense attorney. I practice law every day. I do not ever want to see somebody who did not do something go away for the rest of their life. But I also think that in this now conversation, we are also forgetting about the pieces of evidence that may have led him to make this decision, which I know you talk about in your book as well. And, those are things like the car and being able to put the car near the home at certain times and being there on different days and driving around and, the things with the pinging of the cell phone. And I know that they can never put a phone in an exact location, but that's still circumstantial evidence. The IgG testing on the knife sheath and, whether that knife sheath was found exactly where it was on the floor, it was found in that home. And so there is some potential connection to Kohberger in that house. So of course, there's other pieces of evidence that link him as much as there are pieces of evidence that maybe we want to say should have been put into question. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out.
All right. So that was Justice with Donna. Now, I want everyone to keep in mind when you hear that clip that I just shared with you, what's the first thing that comes to your mind about maybe what Chris Whitcomb said versus what Donna said as a defense attorney? See, because here's the big question. The big question is what's the evidence behind Kohberger's guilty plea challenge, right? Did Kohberger plead guilty without being properly informed and potentially favorable evidence hidden from him? Because there's several different hair findings that we went over. Justice for All has all the key documents. They're blended together in public reporting. That distinction could determine whether his claim is meaningful or misleading. And that's what we are going to get into today, folks. When you start dropping what you said, that's perfect. So here's an example. She said the sheath was found there or put there. That should be a red flag. I 100% agree, Inked Mama. And let me tell you why. The sheath DNA, and we've talked about this over and over. We did a whole live stream a couple of times in regards to the DNA. There was a very clear live stream that I did maybe a week and a half ago on this, especially with the new filing. And right before this filing dropped, we were talking about the knife sheath DNA. And, obviously, I think it was titled Female DNA. And the descriptions that were given by the forensic documents, yes, the one that I FOIA'd and they released on Halloween 2025, 10/31/2025, the K-bar knife sheath 1.2 on the handle, it showed 3 people mixture of DNA. One was male. Whose was that? Because if this was Kohberger's DNA, They only talk about 1.1, guys. If this was his DNA 100% on 1.3 and the DNA on the back of 1.14, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, the prosecution would have been all over this entire knife sheath, not just a little tiny part. In my humble opinion, of course. But think about this big picture, folks. Big picture. Yes, they were never going to deny that his DNA was on the knife sheath. They were asking how they got to that conclusion because the DNA in the beginning didn't match. So then they went after him, after they arrested him, after the FBI raided his house, and they grabbed his DNA from his dad, right? They grabbed the DNA from his dad, folks. And they basically said on that little Q-tip, never throw your Q-tips in the trash, folks. That little Q-tip pinned it on Bryan Kohberger. But if you remember, in the DNA evidence from Dr. Ruth Ballard, Dr. Ruth Ballard said there was no maternal DNA. No maternal DNA. It couldn't have been Bryan Kohberger's DNA, folks. So was it hence transferred? Yeah, they transferred his DNA, in my humble opinion. Very possible, allegedly. Very possible. So the DNA on the knife sheath, on the snap, they said was Kohberger's. Well, whose was it on 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4? Because they never talk about that. They never publicly talk about that. They have never released anything, just like the FBI findings in the hair, right? They saved everything, but they never tell us basically breaking down whose was it. And in this DNA overview that we went through those forensics reports, guys, you have got to remember you are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Was this knife sheath stolen? Did someone let him see the knife or touch it? Was it his and somebody maybe took it, sold it at a pawn shop, stole it out of his car at the Washington State University? How were we going to hear about how his DNA, if it was his, even his knife? Remember, they found an Amazon receipt. They found items in his trunk that match somewhat to that order, but they never told us what kind of K-bar it was. Was it a 5-inch? Was it a 7-inch? Remember, as someone being ex-military and having uncles that are officers and enlisted in the Marines, the Army, and the Navy, I would tell you there is a huge, vast difference between this sheath and a 5-inch blade and a 7-inch blade, full-on tactical. Okay? There are so many vast difference in this case, but let's get back to that they pursued him, Bryan Kohberger, allegedly misleading descriptions of death row and prison life. That's what his PCR says. And it also says potentially exculpatory evidence. They made him promises concerning prison privileges or conditions, like visitations. And they allegedly told him the factual truth of the plea deal did not matter in this clip. Right? This is what Kohberger is alleging. This is something that they talked about in portion in this clip. And primarily ineffective assistance of counsel. Now, I want everyone to hear me very clear. Very clear. We went over this. We talked about this in a live just last week. Did Ann Taylor, right? Was she giving him threats from the counsel? Sign this plea deal. Everybody goes home. Everybody walks away. Everything's kosher. I want you to think about everything that we've talked here from day to day for a year and a half almost. And remember, I never discussed this case publicly until I had actual court documents that we could go back, actual forensic reports that I FOIA'd, actual crime scene pictures, actual statements and testimonies and interviews. And then we got to the point that we got to. But I want you to answer me one question. In your humble alleged opinion, drop a 1 if you think that Ann Taylor did show ineffective counsel. Drop a 1. Because in the clip in the beginning of this stream, I have put 2 clips together. Your Honor, my client is innocent. The media has made it out for him. He is factually innocent. Because I'm going to ask you a question right after this one, following up. That's going to be very important for this claim to be factual. Kohberger is stating that his attorneys failed to disclose or adequately discuss potential exculpatory evidence. That's huge, folks. And I'm going to show you how it possibly could be true. All right, y'all are coming in with some beautiful ones. I see you all. All right. Now, yes, the time on my YouTube was wrong. It was 9 a.m. I fixed it at the last minute, so I don't know if it's fixed. But if you see me live, jump in. I know a lot of you are saying, oh my God, she's live. Yes, it was scheduled wrong for the 6-hour live. I edited it, changed it, so hopefully everybody got notification. If not, and you're just coming in 2x, 3x, you know, you can speed right up, catch up to where we're at. And you Tammy, you're confused on the day. I'm sorry. I apologize. The only reason I decided to share this today is because our wonderful, wonderful allies, they went to New York City. They went to New York City. And lo and behold, I got a clip this morning to share with you folks. Lo and behold. This is going to be wild. Listen, they got interviewed on the Today Show. And let's listen to what they are saying this morning. This was 3 hours ago. And I actually have...
Go to trial this time around.
Hold on one second. Let's just see who arrived with them on set.
Would you like to see a trial? Would you actually like to see this go to trial this time around?
That's never changed. I've been consistent.
Their daughter, Autumn, is with them. Is that Autumn?
Through and through. The evidence.
Or Aubrey?
But there, I want to honor all the work that the agents did, and I think it should have stood. We need to make case law. You know, Idaho.
We need to make case law. They've already made case law off of some bogus findings, I believe, in my humble opinion. What is this family doing? This is beginning to look like some type of alleged fraud, in my humble opinion. With all the evidence we have seen, with the prosecutor, the Moscow Police Department, and the ISP saying they couldn't even connect Kohberger, they couldn't put him at the scene of the crime, they couldn't connect him to anything, and the FBI couldn't connect him to anything. What in the freakity frick is going on? I'm about to get spicy up in here. What in the frick is happening, Idaho?
I had a chance. We spent $8 million. $8
million freaking dollars. I want to see where this money was spent myself. As a former Idahoan, as a former citizen, as a former military, we have the right publicly to see what $8 million went to.
Really, we're in a perfect position to put our foot down and say we're not going to allow this to happen in our...
To making a company finding cold case DNA killers? Yeah, I've always said this was the Twilight Zone. Go back and watch that live, the Twilight Zone 6-hour live.
Our state, and I would have liked to see that happen.
Tammy says, in my humble opinion, this may be human trafficking. I don't know about you, but putting your kids out there the way they have and looking into private businesses that Steve has in his name with somebody out of Texas, a trucking company or something of that nature. That is the only one that I have deep dive and research that I can speak on and showed proof with receipts in the past. All the Venmo receipts that I have shown from the college kids, all the Venmo connections to Dr. Peptide or Mr. Peptide or whatever he calls himself here. I think there's more to it. I think there's a little bit more to it. I don't know about the human trafficking side, but this looks a little sketch to me. All right, that was the clip that they offered. And, obviously there's a big, huge twist. Let's watch this one real quick also, since it just popped up.
A stunning reversal. Brian Kohlberger wants to withdraw his plea deal and go to trial for the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students. In new handwritten court documents.
All right, we already know this, so let's just go into the next one. So a lot of you dropped a 1. A lot of you dropped a 1 in regards to maybe Ann Taylor perhaps didn't tell him everything. And how do we know proof of this? Well, you go right back over to the almighty repository in Idaho, and you can do me a favor. Every single one of you. No, today is not the 6-hour live. I'm doing the 6-hour live on Friday, guys. 6-hour live is on Friday. I messed up. So just 6-hour lives on Friday, Freedom Friday. You can go through the state repository to see if Ann Taylor actually filed anything in regards to the FBI reporting. And of course, I dug into every single motion, every single filing in motion of limine. And the prosecution, remember this, the prosecution allowed the FBI report to be put into evidence. They were allowing Ann Taylor, they did a stipulation. I remember that. So let me go and see if I can find that stipulation. Admission to, okay, here, additional exhibits. Here we go. There were additional exhibits that they agreed, that they stipulated. They said, okay, we'll go ahead and do this. They sealed those exhibits, and then I think they were unsealed. So let me just see. Penalty phase, stipulation, order sealing stipulation, motion to stipulation for Zoom, protective order, stipulation over the protective order, restitution, they did a stipulation. I want to say that this was in 2025, but let me just look, because that's when the report came from the FBI. I don't see any other stipulations other than those in 2025. So let me find out where it is. That is not it. There were order sealing additional exhibits. Now remember, they agreed to allow the FBI, let me just look at this, stipulation of additional evidence at trial. We never got to see what it was. Let's look at the next one. Motion to seal. Let's see what they sealed. Motion to seal exhibits. And this was to seal more exhibits, but it doesn't say exactly what it is. And this other one was on June 9th, 2025. The other one was on the 6th. In the evidence and trial, and the corresponding order will be under seal. So let me go back and see what the other exhibit was. To excuse lay witnesses. Stipulation to excuse penalty phase witnesses from Idaho Rules of Evidence 615, exclusion during guilt phase. Okay, the offending, the exclusion in the guilt phase, that's not it. Order sealing stipulation to allow out-of-state witness to testify. That must have been a couple of people. Let's see who it was. It doesn't say. Expert witness, Latah County. I'm sure we can go back and figure out who that was. I wonder if that was Cy Ray. Order stipulating somebody to testify. It said it was denied. The experts to be redacted on public something stipulation. Idaho, I can't even read that, but it's signed by Judge Hippler. Exempt from disclosure and is sealed. Let's see what the next stipulation was. Motion to seal. Nope. They had stipulated the FBI report was going to be in it. So I don't see it in the repository, but remember, I grab everything and I put the most important pages, the most important things on Justice for All. Under the FBI hair debris, you'll see that there is a filing that stipulated motion to the admission of additional exhibits as evidence at trial. And this was 6-6. Go in the repository, go see if you can find it on 6-6 listed under a stipulation, because you just saw me search through it and it is not there. Okay? Unless I missed it. 1 second. Oh no, actually it is there, but the additional documents are not there on the FBI file now. So this is the actual FBI laboratory that they stipulated that they would allow this in at trial. They would allow it as evidence. And this, my friend, I believe Ann Taylor never filed anything like a motion in limine. This came at the last hour Hail Mary, that it did say that this debris did not connect Kohberger. It did not connect Kohberger. And they saved these debris for possible future comparisons. Possible future. Now, I will say this. A stipulation is that the attorneys agree. The defense and the prosecution agree that they would allow certain evidence to come into trial. And this was filed. And then we see on the repository, this is on the high interest case repository, because if you go back up, it says Idaho current cases, State of Idaho v. Brian Kohberger. There's a couple of other ones I've been watching too. But this is weird because this is actually in the court repository under iCourt, right? This is under iCourt that you go in and you search his name and you can actually see history of cases against the individual. And unfortunately, you don't see the actual murder case like I've showed you many of times. You can see Lori Vallows, you can see Chad Daybells, you can see all these other people that have been charged with murder, but yet you don't see Brian Kohberger actually being factually charged with murder in the Idaho website. But you can see his post-conviction proceedings. Brian Kohberger versus the state of Idaho. Now, isn't that just a little odd? We went over his attorney yesterday. We talked about the public defender. He is a public defender. This is not a private attorney. A lot of people sent me messages yesterday. Is this a private attorney? No, it is a appointed public state defender. Now, folks, I am going to take just a real short break. I need to go get some water and a cough drop, so I will be back. Don't go anywhere.
Feel the pulse, a quiet hum, a steady rhythm like a distant drum. In the darkness, waiting for the sun, a brand new day is yet to come. They build the walls to keep us down. whisper lies all over town. But every seed that hits the ground will break the silence with its sound. I hold this truth inside my hand, and on this solid rock I'll stand. Oh, can you feel the justice rising? Got a new horizon in my soul. Yeah, I got faith, it's multiplying, and it's taking back all the control. This vibration's gonna shake the nation.
All right. Thanks, y'all. And so now I have not seen any filing for a motion in limine on the hair. But there was a stipulation that they were going to allow that FBI report showing that obviously there was not Bryan Kohberger's hair in that house, on the victims, or anywhere. Whose hair was that? And in this filing in the iCourt portal for Idaho, it shows clearly that he has been given an attorney. What do we know as of today? Nothing, basically. There's no updates as of this morning. But here's the deal. Will this new evidence allegedly set Kohberger free? Yes, the public defender is from Moscow. He was graduated, and we did this live stream yesterday, graduated from Moscow High School. And he factually got his his law degree from San Diego. And we went over that. And you can obviously see his history. I looked up his case history. It's still waiting appellate ruling from the state of Idaho. And it's really interesting to me. I had a PD in a DUI jury trial, and best, some are good. Yeah, and I'm not saying he's not a bad attorney. It just looks like he's not very, these cases come far and few between, right? Let's keep an open mind here. These commercials on YouTube are insane every few minutes. Wow, are you serious? Wow, I'm sorry that you guys are getting a lot of commercials. Maybe it's because at the 9 o'clock hour, there's more people watching YouTube, perhaps, and they load the commercials up. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad attorney. I'm just saying I'm sure, there's not a lot of cream of the crop that are going to take a case like this. I'm sure it's going to be difficult, but he does have some history, and he worked, my friends. I didn't mention this yesterday, but he did have a short service in this career in legal aid of San Diego. And I hope that experience gave him the knowledge he needs to help those who are less fortunate. And if you think about it, this guy may be just a stepping stone, as you say. And that's what I was thinking when I first learned that he was appointed. Maybe this gentleman will obviously publicly defend him the best possible route. And if not, then the Kohbergers, sisters, family, friends, in support of Bryan Kohberger, will find an attorney, will put a legal trust in place where people can donate to a legal trust. And that is the way you do it properly. Now, in regards to Kohberger and his statement that this will, basically his silence is what he's going to bank on, and what he has been banking on. He's remained silent the entire time, folks. We have talked about this in nauseum. I'm saying that his whole family has been silenced. Not saying that he has been silenced, but they've been silent for a reason. And when it comes right down to the evidence that we're looking at, we're talking about the hair evidence. All right. He's just asking to be heard. He's just asking to tell his side of the story. Let me be heard before you judge. Right? In the public court of law, in the public perception, he wants the truth to come out, not just the story they told. So what part connects him to this case? And we've talked about this before. The only part that may connect him to this case is the documents that I showed you in regards to his own interview by the Moscow Police Department, where he says the projects at Pullman, right, the Pullman PD, and the projects at WSU, which his professor that was indeed investigated and, well, I shouldn't say investigated, but interviewed by the FBI and Homeland Security on 2 different occasions. Basically, he backtracked and said, no, I don't think Kohberger could have done anything like this. Now, you'll have to go and read the documents. You'll have to go and look at WSU's documents. You'll have to look at Pullman emails to pull all this together. But we did cover this a little while ago in all that evidence. The only way he could be connected, in my humble opinion, is through the police department that he interviewed for a job. Did they offer him a contract job and not give him the full-time position because he was, in fact, still in a teaching position? Perhaps. We can make that speculation, right? But nothing matched Kohberger, not his vehicle, no hair fibers, no DNA at the crime scene, only the knife sheath alleged, the snap. And how they got to that conclusion, we already know. But that is an item that could have been taken out of one location, moved to another. Does a knife sheath kill people? No. Where's the knife? Who has the knife? Don't know. Still wondering where the knife is. Maybe somebody out there knows where the knife is and will finally tell somebody where the knife is. We're hoping that. We're hoping. Now, I know for a fact that nothing matched anything. The hair could belong to a victim, not necessarily Kohberger. Could belong to a victim. It could belong to somebody that lives there, a resident or even a visitor. It could have been somebody who was hanging out with Xana that night, or somebody that, obviously we believe there may have been a fight, and Ethan's hands may prove and his shoulder may prove there was some type of scuffle. Someone maybe who had innocent contact with the house. We know it couldn't have been a responder because obviously there was no responders that went in the house on body cam that we saw. Maybe it happened when we didn't see it. Or it could be an unidentified person with no connection to the homicide. But the absence of Kohberger's hair is favorable, in my humble opinion, especially in defense. But it's not independently exonerating. Does everybody understand that? You have to go through the process. They have to do some investigation. They have to go into further testing. They have to figure out what they're going to do. They have to have someone to benchmark this hair against. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of people being tested, right? Because clearly the FBI says, nope, this doesn't match Kohberger's hair. Doesn't match his hair. So, the reported Ethan hair in his hands, not the bed frame hairs, guys. Not the bed frame hair. We're talking about hair in Ethan's hands. It was said that there was strands, not a clump, strands in the reports, if you read them. There were debris, strands of hair in Ethan's hands. Now, it was said by Chris Whitcomb on his interview that it was blondish red hair, about 6 to 7 inches. Okay? We even did a whole stream about possibly what that would look like. And I want to go ahead and let me see if I still have that picture. I want to see if I still have this hair. I think it's in my pictures. Let me just grab this. What that would look like. And I'll go back to my streams because in that stream will give you a great idea of what 6 to 7 inch strand of that color hair would be. So let's go all the way back and let's go look at the lives and let's go see. It was quite some time ago. Okay, so we were screaming out a month ago, test that hair. That's what the public's screaming. What would that look like? Let's see. Was I think Xana and pictures on the front. Digital breadcrumbs. That was not it. Let's see. Debris hair in Ethan's hand. We talked about this 3 months ago. All right. And I think somewhere in here. Oh, we talked about somebody dyeing their hair. Now, we weren't told if the roots were attached to it, remember, okay? Yeah, it did look like he dyed his hair. But we're not saying he's guilty. We're just saying it's odd that you would dye your hair. Now, he was suspect 1 for a very long time. And remember, we went back and we found pictures. And we did compare pictures. Maybe it was the lighting, but it was rumored that he dyed his hair, and that's what we were looking at. Now, I will say there were other streams where we talked about, let me see, the hair. And I even gave you a picture of what that would look like. And let me see if I still have a picture in my hair. Hold on. Evidence, hair breakdown, tangled hair on fabric, hair and fibers, image. Let me see if I have that image still. See if it pops up. Projects, hair, no. Why would it not be in my repository? Let me go way back. This had to have been a long time ago. Oh my gosh. Hair. We've talked about a lot here, guys. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize how much we've talked about until I opened this and it who knows? Shoot. All right, let me keep looking for this hair. Okay, that was the first one. Something's not right. Same person. Hair. What stream was that? The gloves, the other DNA that were found that never talked about, the DNA over at JD's house and JS's. Talked about that. Where is the hair? I should go and make another one. We talked about the scratches, the scars. Where is the hair? Oh, random witnesses who went to the hospital. Talked about all that. Talked about Kopaka. Where is the hair? Secrets. Gosh, this case is wild. Jacket. Okay, this must be the era where we started talking about all the evidence that came out. Okay, the pictures they took. Frats, rumors. Eric Gower. Boy, did you guys, that new interview, we'll talk about that in a second. Eric Gower may have not even been the Uber driver, which would make sense in my humble opinion. Okay, let me just ask you real quick. We're going to do a side route. Drop a 1 if you heard the interview on Connor's channel about the Uber driver. Drop a 1 if you've heard the interview about the Uber driver. Okay. Now, I think it was Maria Smith, right? I listened to it last night. Gosh, I got home yesterday. I was so exhausted. And I'm going to bring it up just for 1 second. I'm going to let you listen, and then let's talk about this for a minute. This is going to be a hot minute, right? Because I think this is really important, folks. I think this is going to be key. And I'm going to share this one. It's over on Connor's channel. You know the drill. And let me pop it up. All right. I've got a picture of Quinn. I'll show you too. I think it was 6 inches long, 6 to 7 inches, if I remember quickly. So I would say it was a male here. Yeah, 6 to 7 inches. If, now keep in mind, if it was a male who had longer hair, right? So let's just, Martha Stewart is her name. Y'all are bad. It is her name, Martha Smith, isn't it? Martha Smith. Martha Smith. I don't think it is Martha Smith, isn't it? Let me just see. Did they change everybody's names? It's Martha Smith. She's actually the ASUI president, and she actually went to DC on a internship. Okay, so a small town Idaho DC internship. This was in March of 25. Her name is Martha Smith. Okay, she's done a lot of advocating. If you go back and research her, lots of things. And now she's, doing all kinds of stuff. So you can go and do, she's pre-law too, guys. She is going to become a attorney. All right. And political science. Okay. So there's a fireball right there. Oh, and this girl liked to talk about all of it. But this is the most interesting part that she talked about. Not only did she talk about the drug angle, but she said some very interesting things. And I'm just going to highlight just a few of what she shared. Okay. This is one of them. And here we go.
That will understand the drug portions of it, and that side of things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And you're confident that, not to go out of left field, you're pretty confident that this is the one that picked them up from the Grove
I'm
truck.
100% positive that's who drove him home.
All right. Do you know much about an Uber driver named?
Okay, so she is basically saying somebody else drove Maddie and Kaylee home. They are now asking her about the Uber driver named Eric Gower.
We don't take Ubers very often.
We don't take Ubers very often in Moscow. And this is why they were hiding this information. Think about logically, what the connection would be and why Dylan would ask an Uber driver, are you still driving? Like, are you still delivering, perhaps, allegedly? Delivering what? Only a few key people would get this Uber driver, folks. Only some key people would get this Uber driver. How do I know this? Well, go and look at the Venmo or the Cash App receipts, because sometimes during duty, he clocks off, he goes home, and he comes back and delivering what? What is he delivering if he's not taking people in his vehicle? Think about this, okay? There is somebody else that caught on to this also and made a video, which I'm going to show you very briefly. And there are several people who know about this. She is adamant that we don't take Ubers in Moscow. And listen why.
Moscow. Uber is like not something people do very often.
Okay.
For a while, the university was trying to do like vandal Ubers, where like all Ubers were free, and then people were doing stuff like taking it to Boise and stuff. They had to kind of curb that a little bit. But no, I don't.
Okay.
Now, she is saying that anytime they go out, they are only using Sober Bros. That's all they ever use. So why would Dylan contact Eric Gower? I mean, I've thought about this long and hard, folks. Long and hard. He has a connection to the reservation, allegedly, right? But why would he only take payment from an Ashlyn Valdez, who is actually the guy that I showed you partying in the house with Maddie on her birthday, allegedly? Why would he take payment from Cassidy Wood? Thank you. Why would he take payment from Jordan Quisnell? Uber everywhere. And why would he take payment from Kaylee? Kaylee paid Zoe Wonderberg and said, Eric, man. And why would Dylan text, are you still driving at 2:11 a.m.? Think about that one for one hot second. Think about that one. That's wild. That is absolutely wild that someone would not put two and two together. I always wondered, because Jack Showalter said they got in a different car. They were delivered home by a sober brother with the frats. A private driver. Get real. Holy mother frickin' moly. And which leads me to this. There is something about this girl, Martha Smith, in her interview that just made my head spin. I'll get to that on another stream, but keep that in mind as all these pieces fall together. We're now seeing it in full-blown motion. Okay? But I want to address another elephant in the room today. I want to address another one. If you are with us, this was put out this morning that I captured before somebody else sent it to me, and I thought, you know what, I caught it, but if somebody else catches it, I'll talk about it. And normally I don't talk about these things on my stream, but I think it's really important that we do and bring them out in the open. Because I absolutely 100% called this out long ago. The Gonzalez page that is marked private investigator on their page, it says, if you are with us, this is for you. If you are against us, just leave. This is my page. And I don't want to hear your opinions. I think this is absolutely disgusting what people are acting like this. Would these people feel this way if BK did this to their children? Abso-freaking-lutely 100%. But if you've been watching and reading the court documents and the forensic documents and what the police department and ISP and the FBI have been saying, there is no way he's even connected. So how would he have done this? Show us how. And I have been asking that for over 2-3 years. Show us how he did this. Show us the details. Maybe they want to hide that. I don't know. She said Kaylee was unrecognizable, badly disfigured, and had brain bleeds. Stabbed in the face 24 times and missing teeth, and had 13 stabs and incised wounds in her chest and neck. Sat up in bed and fought. People are celebrating? How could they ignore the mounds of evidence against him? What evidence? And they're on the Today Show this morning still spewing this. Show us the evidence. Obviously, the G's know all the evidence, so tell us. Tell us. Because it's going to come out in trial. You know, the trial that you want. How can they ignore mounds of evidence against him? What? These people should be ashamed of themselves. Oh, mama to mama, I don't have anything to be ashamed of. I'm not all over the media waves sharing possibly alleged misinformation. We need to get to the bottom of the truth and have it come to light very quickly. Then she goes on to give her opinion. This man will never be exonerated. He will never walk free. You think you are fighting for justice for my daughter? No, we are fighting for justice for all Americans who have been framed, pigeonholed into plea deals. Does she not see this? Does she not see our justice system? Guys, if you are into one chapter of Framed, that book, that whole first chapter, I was glad I spent the money on the book. 100%. I have been digging into unjustified plea deals for years, since 2020. And one day I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you my own experience. I'll tell you my own personal experience of these plea deals. Then they said, he will never walk free. You think you're fighting for justice for my daughter. She doesn't need to fight for her justice. Well, they don't want us to know the truth, obviously, in my humble opinion, allegedly. Justice will come for her when he takes his last breath and enters eternal life in hell. Well, I hope the same for you. I really do. I hope that God has mercy on your soul, Christy. Whatever you are out there perpetrating, sharing, even if it's injustice, I hope that God will have mercy on your soul. And I hope that the real killer of your daughter is exposed. 100%. And then they admit, also the person that made this YouTube, Vivian Marie, is Team Gonzalez. I didn't know we were on teams here. Because justice is for all. She was just highlighting some of the stupidity. Highlighting some of the stupidity that I put out there that's factual. There was no stupidity. I pray for this family's soul. I pray for their mouths. I pray for their ears to be open to the truth. And I pray that their mouths only speak for justice. Because what we're seeing is wild. I wouldn't even be able to put my name in that. Because you know what? I would be ashamed. I would be 100% ashamed to even show my face and preach this. I really would. Because at the end of the day, I watch body language. I look at documents. I read court records. I look at crime scene photos. I look at the defense's filings, especially the one yesterday that Ann Taylor had seen something in the house at 12:04:55 that she was going to bring in front of the court for a Franks hearing. And oh Lord, one thing's for sure. This body language and this body movement of this new clip that arose from the Today Show, let's watch it again. I want you to watch it in a different light with what I just said.
Would you like to see a trial? Would you actually like to see this go to trial this time around?
That's never changed.
He says, yeah, while shaking his head, no. Watch his body.
See this go to trial this time around?
What is up with that?
That's never changed. I've been consistent through and through.
Shaking his head, no.
The evidence was there. I will honor all the work that the agents
Won't even look the guy in the eyes.
did. And
What is he looking at? Is he ashamed?
I think I should have stood. We need to make case law.
We need to make case law. That's what his true purpose is here. We need to make case law. He looks at the guy when he's telling the truth, in my humble opinion.
No, Idaho had a chance.
He's looking down.
We spent $8 million. We really were in a perfect position to put our foot down and say we're not going to allow this to happen in our state. And I would have liked to see that happen.
What are we watching? I want to see more of that clip. Let me see if there's anything on the Today Show about it. Let's just see real quick while we're live. I want to see if there's anything on the Today Show. Let's see. Let me see if there is another clip. They have been putting these clips out. Here we go. Here's another one. Here's another one. Wow. Holy freaking moly. Let's watch this. Let's see this. Let's see if this one will play. This was at 8:21 this morning. This is just a 5-minute clip. You know what? How many of you think that this is real? How many of you think that they're after a payday? Drop a 1.
You're joined now
busted.
by Kaylee Gonsalves' family, her parents, Christy and Steve, and her sister Aubrey.
Why is Aubrey there? Why is Aubrey there?
With us this morning as well. Welcome back. Welcome back. We were talking just a few minutes ago about the documentary itself. And one of the things that I found interesting was that it didn't focus on the killer, focused on the victims, focused on their stories as well. Did you find participating in it to be cathartic? Did it help with the grieving process?
Yes. And Sky Borgman, who was the producer of that, knew that we were very adamant about that. And she really took that into consideration, that, we wanted this to be victim based, not him. Obviously there is no story if you don't talk about what happened.
Right.
So that had to be done. But it was good to see them in person and real filming, real photos. And as
real photos as opposed to fake photos?
As sad as it was to watch, because some of those moments just take you right back to when it all started. There are some moments that, you could definitely smile.
Yeah. Steve, the last time we chatted here on the show, I recall you expressing some frustration that the case never went to trial. Now, of course, the same week that this documentary comes out, he tries to change his plea. Would you like to see a trial? Would you actually like to see this go to trial this time around?
That's never changed. I've been consistent through and through. The evidence was there. I want to honor all the work that the agents did, and I think it should have stood. We need to make case law. You know, Idaho had a chance. We spent $8 million. We really were in a perfect position to put our foot down and say we're not going to allow this to happen in our state. And I would have liked to see that happen.
In the docuseries, the police chief, the Moscow police chief, he basically says, as you saw, that he thinks that this is essentially a death penalty because he'll die in prison. He'll do the 4 consecutive life terms. What do you say to that?
If it was his kid, he wouldn't feel the same. You know, that's not a real death penalty. And it's my child, and I'm going to demand the highest standard of law. And that's not dying in prison, you know, getting vegan meals and being treated like some kind of celebrity. And that's not even close.
I did actually appreciate him saying that. And
the police chief.
Yes, the police chief. I never actually had thought about that. But death row is different than, you know, in which he's not on death row. So the life that he would live up until the time he would die is different. So that is, you know, a small factor there, or a big factor.
We shouldn't pay for his PhD. And he's going to get a PhD in prison. Why? Because our system is questionable. Somebody like that should not keep going to school.
Aubrey, mom and dad have sort of been out here talking about their beloved daughter for a number of years now. We saw your sister there in the story. She read the victim impact statement last year as well. This is the first time we've seen and heard from you. Why did you decide that now is the time to speak out?
Yeah, so when everything happened, I was a sophomore in high school. I was only 16 years old. And at the time, I kind of just decided that no words were going to bring back either one of my sisters. So I didn't feel like saying anything. And now that I've gotten older, you know, almost 4 years has passed, I realize still that no words are going to bring back my sisters, but words are what's going to keep their memories alive. And I'm not really one to put myself in a situation like this. I don't really.
They look so different. Has anybody noticed the shape of her nose compared to Kaylee's nose? The face structure, the hair color, teeth structure, eye structure. Don't they look so different?
Like to, but I know that I have to keep Maddie and Kaylee's name alive, and that's why I'm here today.
Let's talk about Kaylee.
And where is Samantha in all this? We haven't heard from Samantha since they sent her a cease and desist, obviously, because they were upset with her saying truthful things. I mean, Samantha and I had some messages back and forth that just blew me away, that she called Kaylee Kayla, that people knew her as Kayla, not Kaylee.
For a second, what do you want the world to know about your big sister? Maybe things that we haven't heard, or maybe.
Whose nose does she have? It sure doesn't look like his or hers. Blue eyes? Who has blue eyes?
Maybe things that we don't know.
I think you could see exactly how Kaylee was as a person just by.
And we know for a fact that Mom is a bottle blonde.
Looking at pictures of her, she was like the bubbliest human ever. She was always down to have a fun time. She was always, you know, looking at the positives. She was one of the hardest workers I've ever met. And to this day, that is a huge thing that provides me with like.
Yeah. What? Maddie's name first.
A constant need to keep going, because I know that Kaylee would be doing the same thing had she still been here.
Yeah, the younger two look more alike than any of the other ones. Olivia doesn't have blue eyes.
And I really am just trying to do half as much as I know that she would have.
How are you guys doing? How are you holding up?
I think we're doing a lot better. We have
well, it looks like she might have more of a nose like Steve G.
Nonprofit, Murder Has a Name, and it's made us focus on. There's true crime, and it's very popular. So how do we take that true crime and point it in a direction?
True crime is very popular, but why are they so adverse to hearing the truth in the documents, the crime scene photos. It doesn't make sense.
Where they actually can make sense in a courtroom, make the world safer. And
how do you make the world safer if you're not looking at evidence? How can you make the world safer?
Not see it just as something that is entertainment, but no, I can reach out and I can do something. And we're trying to find cold cases. We're going to do IG. We're going to do genetics. We're going to do the lab. We're going to private.
Did he not see Dr. Ruth Ballard, the expert in the genetics field? Did they not read her report where they went down the wrong line to determine Koberger's family genetics? Did they not? I mean, like I said from the beginning, guys, I have a background in genetics. Yes, a lot of people know that I am a retired, classically trained naturopathic doctor. But I will say this. The investigator is what you look at when you look at genetics. Did the investigator do the right research? And clearly, the expert of all experts, Dr. Ruth Ballard, said, no, they did not go down the right genetic path. And how do I know this? How do I know this? I was going to save this for another stream, but it's on my mind. I might as well share it. We've gone through so many documents here. We have gone down through rabbit holes of documents. Oh my gosh, trails and trails. I have a document up. I had it up. Let me grab it. Where are you at? There was a sealed document that was recently unsealed, and it was filed on February 20th of 2025. And on page 2, this was the closed hearing transcript. This was a closed hearing redacted transcript. And now it comes before the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney in response to the court's January 27, 2025 order regarding January 3rd, 2025 hearing transcript. That same hearing where Judge Hippler says, and I'm paraphrasing, we're going to call all these people to the stand. If one of them breaks on the stand and gives up a confession, great. I don't think it's going to happen, but great. And those are his notes, guys, his notes. So they're going through back and forth of what they're going to redact. And if you read line 4, page 2, it says in regards to this transcript, which you can go back and look at the transcript once they, I think it might be on Justice for All. It says, number 1, line 25, line 6, page 26, line 21 refers to a witness of a roommate of the victims, redacted, whose identity has been protected at least in part due to, the hostile public and social media postings. This portion of the transcript relates to the question by defense counsel to which the state objected, and the objection was sustained. Page 28, line 12, page 31, line 18. The portion of this transcript involved inquiries by the defendant related to the Frank's motion instead of the relevant IGG topic, and like the portion listed immediately above was objected to by the state, and the objection was sustained. Page 151, line 6, 8, and 15, 6 through 8 and 15. The portion of this transcript deals with the names of distant relatives of the defendant identified through investigative genetic genealogy research, and which is already subjected to a protective order previously issued by the Honorable Judge John C. Judge when he was presiding in this case. Y'all remember that hearing, right? Where Ann Taylor says, my client is innocent. And lo and behold, on page reference 4, page 153, line 9. The portion of this transcript relates to the blank brothers who were also identified as potential relatives of the defendant through the use of investigative genealogy, IGG, and whose identities are subject to the prior presiding judge's protective order on IGG materials. They should be exempt. Now, do you see the redacted name of the blank brothers? Does Koberger have brothers? Does Koberger have any brothers? Drop a 1 if you think yes. Drop a 2 if you think no. Does Koberger have any brothers? I'll wait for it. Nobody's being hostile towards anybody. We do not encourage any type of anger, retaliation, revenge, nothing. Do not harass, do not annoy, do not harm anyone. We are not for that. I will repeat. No one is hostile. We are looking for the truth, and in looking for the truth, we must ask questions. Dose, says Jethro. Tall. Caleb says 2. Which Koberger? Brian? 2. Does Koberger have brothers? 2, no, if you think. 1, if you think he has brothers, yes. Why did Steve tell Judge Hippler that they had to lie about what happened to their kids? I don't know. That's a good one. Either one of my sisters? What the? Either one of my sisters. It says, this portion of the transcript relates to the blank brothers, who were also identified as potential relatives of the defendant through the use. Remember, I told you this the other day, 435 people. It only takes 435 people to show similar genetics. That's it, folks. It takes 435 people to show you're related to someone else. Isn't that wild? He's the only son and the youngest of 2. Correct. Okay, so I'm going to just tell you, in my humble opinion, how many letters this name is. And we can do the math, we can do the research on this. And, you know, I've got people out there that are really good at counting spaces, letters. How many letters is that last name? It's not many. And it starts with a K because somebody didn't, starts with a K. And brothers. K and brothers. And let's just see how many lines that is. If you know the answer, can I ask a question, Phoenix? Absolutely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 letters. I think it's about 8. I've got an expert in here that can tell me how many exact letters that is. Koberger's name has 9. No, he doesn't have brothers on record. Correct. Kopaka. How many letters is Kopaka? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, could be 7 or 8. Hold on a minute. I know there's other experts that know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It might be 7 letters. I might be wrong. Koberger definitely has 9. 10 letters? Somebody says 10 letters. The S last name has 9 letters. No, he doesn't have any brothers on record. The only one that I can tell that I went down that family line from Dr. Ruth Ballard's suggestion, I found AV. Remember, you can go back and watch that stream that connected to someone else out of a relative out of an Oregon who actually had a car with a white Elantra listed in their name. Per Brett Payne's chat messages in November. One letter longer than the word below. Katovich, Katovich. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, that's 8. Did he have brothers? Kopaka brothers is what I thought. But, I mean, we're just speculating here. We're just speculating. And these are the court records. So we know for sure that this is referencing in a private sealed hearing that brothers were discussed. And we know for a fact that Kohberger did not have brothers. They're both so close, folks. So close. Steve has brothers, been known to be a bit suspicious, unscrupulous. Well, it says brothers. I don't think that would be G brothers. Do you think that that would be G brothers? Because there were no genetics that went down the line of AV and JS. Remember, we broke it down. Let me pull that up. It was the experts. Hold on. Let me grab it again so you guys can see it. So you know what we're talking about. And for those of you who just joined us, it's easier if you go back and look at the Ruth Ballard. Here we go. We go back and we take a look at the DNA framework. Remember, we explained all the values. And let's go back to the actual document itself. Ruth Ballard. Okay, here we go. Back to the library, and let me grab Ruth Ballard DNA. Six 12 25. We're going to go right to AV because that's a key marker. Where'd it go? Believe me, they talk about the alleles, they talk about the DNA, they talk about the program. Okay. Hold on a second. Where is it at? Oh, that was the Christian will. Oh, that was the first expert. Remember, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to review that. I just thought of something. I just thought of something with the first. I just thought about something. A match between item 13.1, the body sample from Madison Mogen and Brian Kohberger, is 5,000 times less probable than a coincidental match with an unrelated African American person. An unrelatable Caucasian person and an unrelatable Hispanic person. Remember that finding that we talked about this? I'm going to have to go back to that document later. Let me just put that on my expert disclosures. Where is the unredacted expert? Let me go to Justice for All. That's the easiest way I can find them. Expert exhibits right here. All right, so let me see if I can download this and then I'll open it back up. Hold on. And let me grab AV. Ruth Ballard. Let me just. Ruth Ballard, Exhibit D. All right. Exhibit D. Let me go down to Exhibit D. That's Sutton. It's right after here. Oh, you know what I found interesting? Okay, you guys, this is another side. We'll talk about this in another stream. Something that I found very interesting that was a fireball in this gentleman's report. Appendix D is this is who's that guy? Sutton's report. There was another guy that they hired in to give an expert opinion, but in the report, they actually, this is crazy. They actually show you an example of duct tape bindings removed. Okay. Yeah, I know Brent Kopaka had 3 brothers. He had 4. Himself and 4. That's 5. They show you an example of duct tape bindings removed. This is a fireball in itself. Okay. And then when you get down to the actual pictures they're comparing it to, they have redacted them all. This was not a 7-minute enter the home, stab everybody while they're sleeping, folks. Whatever you believed, whatever you've been told, abandon it. Abandon it and look at the freaking evidence. It's all here. It's just hidden, like in secret code. But you have to know what you're looking for. Okay? Now, I'm going to go down, and I said Exhibit D. Is that right? This is S10. Where is Exhibit D? Where is Ruth Ballard? Did I go too far? Hold on. Eric Seat, Paulette Sutton, crime scene photos. Where is D? Where are you, Ruth? Where are you? Yeah, no stabs in the comforters was huge yesterday. I don't know why, logically, where is Ruth Ballard? It says Exhibit D. The following reports were given via email. Bates. Exhibit D. Let me see if I've got that in another file. Let me go back. It was unredacted. It's totally unredacted. Let me go back to this document. Let me go back and see if it's in the repository. Did I share this? Expert exhibits. Here they are. This should be the 1,000. No, it should be the 1,000-page expert witnesses. Here it is. And this was filed in January. So January, February, March, they knew it wasn't the guy. So let me go back. Ruth Ballard. Come on, Ruth. Expert witnesses D1. It says D1. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, here it is. All right, here we go. So let me just see if I can find it. I think it's on page. And here, I mean, this is like, she is like golden in DNA, folks. I'm just telling you. Just amazing. When you go through her actual report where she starts talking about who this could possibly be. And it's interesting if you haven't looked at all the items that she has, we'll talk about this on another stream. Okay. She examined all the evidence. She gives more information in this document that we have learned anywhere else. Okay? She goes through every little thing in his car, in the samples, in stains, in items in the house, from the FBI reports, from every little thing that we have questioned. If you got time, go read it. Okay? And she actually, obviously, they've redacted all the proof, but she goes in and she talks about the genetic side. She talks about all the evidence that they had, everything where she studied, what she's lectured, what she's published. I mean, just amazing work. She knows what she's talking about. And when you start looking at the genetics, and believe me, there were other hired experts that were brought in to this case. It's not just one, okay? I talked about this in like 3 different other videos. We went through and we looked at all the experts in Robinson Forensic, okay? That was huge. So there's a lot of golden things in this. Unredacted is redacted, but I say unredacted because it was sealed. And where is, what was the family's name? Clark. All right, here is Ruth Ballard. She is talking about the actual evidence and the forensic evidence. RK and HS are third cousins to one another. And they're basically saying if there was a connection, if it was like a brother married a sister and had a child, that it would stay in the family. And that's basically what's called when you look at certain genetic genealogy. And it's not unheard of, because in the golden ages and the old ages and still today, cousins do marry cousins. And she's talking about if there were subjects or a marriage or a sibling from either Clark, Tyler, or Ellen Burke, then Othram recommended testing of a descendant of another Tyler Burke child. And that step could have taken weeks or months, and they denied the opportunity to do it. And it would have not led directly to Brian Kohberger, because he is a descendant from a different sibling altogether, which reminds me to go all the way back to the evidence clearly of the DNA they took in Pennsylvania. Okay? It was not the mother's DNA. There was no maternal connection. So was Kohberger adopted? Is that a possibility? Were some of these kids adopted? I don't know, but there was no maternal DNA found. Remember that. There was no maternal DNA found, so it couldn't have been him altogether. Okay? And then instead, shortly after a verbal communication between David Middleman of Othram and the ISP forensics guy in Idaho, a federal law enforcement asked the FBI genetic genealogy West Region team to help with the case. The FBI fired Othram, and it went back to Los Angeles team building family trees on the 13th of December, and they named Kohberger by the 19th of December as a suspect. And that is when the FBI factually in the hearings gave the court, Brent, God, I just lost his name. Too many B's. What is his name? Payne. He gave testimony that he got a name. It was supposed to be a lead, but they took it as a freaking name. Says here in the footnotes, 31, Bates. They logged it. They documented it. Okay? And then Othram, let me make this a little bit bigger because we're talking about DNA and we're talking about evidence here. We're talking about evidence. Now, Anne protested this all along. She wanted the actual names, which they never gave her the freaking names until after he took a plea deal. Now, look at this footnote. It clearly says Othram recommended testing a grandchild of John Ansel Taylor. Brian Kohberger is a descendant of John Ansel Taylor's sister, Agnes. Remember, I showed you all this. I broke it down. I found all the genealogy. Even with rush pricing, they could have paid a little bit more. The crime scene kit in this case took 15 days. 15 days to being available in the database on 12/7. They admitted 12/7. Remember, I showed you a document of ISP on 12/5. They named him. They had to get the consent for testing. It would have added more time to the turnaround. So we can safely assume that it would have taken weeks or months. But they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And she says, I have used initials for all DNA matches to protect their privacy. Well, it's not that difficult to go back in genetic genealogy databases. It's not that hard to go to Ancestry or 23andMe. It's not that hard. I mean, guys, you can actually go and just search the internet for Brian Kohberger relatives. I'm going to show you how easy this is in this day and age with no privacy. No privacy. Okay? Right here. Let me show you this screen. Hopefully you can see this. Right here. Okay, got it. You can go back and you can look. Brian Kohberger was born on the 21st, to Michael and Marianne Kohberger. Okay? The father is always the one who keeps the surname, right? Pleasant Valley District in Pennsylvania. Worked as professional students, Melissa, Amanda, and Brian. Brian's older sister. Okay, that's not going to help us find him. But if I go and I just say Michael Kohberger, Pennsylvania, father, let's see how easy it is to get to this family tree. Michael worked as a maintenance employee, birth, phone, yada, yada, yada. You can go back and you can go and look at several different ways to get this. And you can say ancestors. Just use keywords. Let's see. Pleasant Valley. Senior. Michael Francis Kohberger Sr. All right. It's going to do a CAPTCHA. God, anything to protect you from the sun. Yes, I'm human. Please. Oh, anything that can climb up a tree trunk. Well, I know that can. What in the world? They want to know if I'm human. Okay, Jenny.com. Hopefully you guys can all see everything I just went through. It pulls up this website and it says 1933, Michael Francis Kohberger Sr. And then it says immediate son, Edward Kathleen, yada, 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 private user, uploaded some genetics. And it says, Kohberger, Michael Francis timeline. You can go and view all. You can do a 14-day trial. You can look at the complete users. But so far, we've got Michael's father as Louis Robert Kohberger. And that goes back from 1956 to that can't be him. That's his brother. Son of Edward Thomas Kohberger. Edward Thomas Kohberger was born in 1907. So that's his grandfather's, that would be his dad's grandfather. And then it comes back and it says immediate family of Kathleen Irene Lambert. There's the maiden name on the mother's side. And the father's name is Michael Francis Sr. Okay, so you can still keep going back and back. That's 1907. So we know that we have not come across Tyler, Ellen, or Burke. So we know that Dr. Ruth Ballard went way back. We can still keep going down that rabbit hole. You can do genetic genealogy very quickly. Okay, very quickly. And when you start looking, and she says definitively, I've used all the initials, the DNA matches to protect their privacy. She knows who this genealogy went through. Dr. Ruth Ballard knows if Kohberger is guilty or not. Think about it logically. Stand up and say, hey, they got the wrong person, guys. She can come out and write a book if she's not under NDA. Hey, they got the wrong guy. Think about the power that this woman has on her hand. Think about Chris Whitcomb in the book he wrote. Maybe he knows they got the wrong guy because he's seen the reports from Dr. Ruth Ballard. And what else could she have reported? Well, she reported that the database they used was unethical, and it is terribly, terribly looked down upon in using it for this purpose. Shouldn't have used it. Shouldn't have. Totally 100% unethical. In conclusion, my review of the discovery thus far, everything she's seen, and Othram's genealogist could not identify Mr. Kohberger. The FBI then took over the case, modified the original SNP data file. She's admitting they manipulated the DNA and uploaded their version to forbidden databases in violation of the DOJ policy. Somebody should be screaming this from the freaking rooftops, folks. That would have identified Mr. Kohberger so quickly if they would have followed protocol. The FBI, whoops, we made a boo-boo, guys. Get that Band-Aid at 3 a.m., folks. Get that Band-Aid. Can you imagine sitting in frickin' prison because your back was up against the wall to take a plea deal? If he just would have went to trial. Yeah, it's the Wild West, folks. She described it as the Wild West, too. Wild, crazy stuff. You guys, before you say that you believe something 100% that he's guilty, please read the documents. Educate yourself. You're going to look really silly out there on the streets. And let's listen to the rest of this interview.
Fund it, and we're going to work with those investigators, and we're going to make we're hunting the same people that killed our child. We're going after them.
We're hunting the same people that killed our child. Maybe they have taken the law in their own hands, developed this whole thing to find out whose DNA it is. Maybe the G's aren't so bad after all. Maybe they have been screaming since day one that they believe that somebody else did this. Maybe they're under the gun, or per se, they are under somebody's thumb to not go find out this information. And they are taking a big risk to go find this information. See, we don't have to throw shots, and we don't have to disparage each other, and we don't have to sugarcoat anything here. At Phoenix Talks, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it and logically analyze every little piece of information, even in an interview. Believe me, I don't want to hear it, but maybe they are trying to tell somebody in their own way. We are hunting, not that the killer was already hunted and found. They are hunting their daughter's killer. I'm just worried that it might not be who they think it might be. I'm wondering if they're worried. So let's finish watching this, and I'm going to do a little live presentation. We're going to do a search.
Those people.
As you do it, come back and share those stories with the world.
Come back. Look at that smile on his face. Come back and tell us. He's hunting is a present term, not hunted.
As you do it, come back and share those stories.
Make the world safer. And not see it just as something that is entertainment, but no, I can reach out and I can do something. And we're trying to find cold cases. We're going to do IgG. We're going to do genetics. We're going to do the lab. We're going to private fund it. And we're going to work with those investigators, and we're going to make, we're hunting the same people that, killed our child.
We're hunting the same people that killed our child. We're hunting the same people that killed our child. That's present tense, folks. That's not past tense. He has to go ahead and go with the state. They put this guy behind bars. They're hunting the killers. Did you hear him? Did you hear him? I'm going to put the closed captions on.
And reach out, and I can do something. And we're trying to find cold cases. We're going to do IGG. We're going to do genetics. We're going to do the lab. We're going to private fund it, and we're going to work with those investigators. And we're going to make. We're hunting the same people that killed our child.
We're hunting the same people, more than one. You can take that to the bank, and I'll put my stamp of approval on that. Hunt the real killers. But if there's somebody innocent here, they're playing both sides.
Going after those people.
As you do it, come back and share those stories with the world.
I'm going to do a clear clip. I'm going to make this go viral today.
We're going to private fund it, and we're going to work with a nonprofit.
You guys doing? How you holding up?
I think we're doing a lot better. We have a nonprofit. Yeah. Murder Has a Name, and it's made us focus on. There's true crime, and it's very popular. So how do we take that true crime and point it in a direction where they actually can make a difference in a courtroom, make the world safer, and not see it just as something that is entertainment, but no, I can reach out and I can do something. And we're trying to find cold cases. We're going to do IGG. We're going to do genetics. We're going to do the lab. We're going to private fund it, and we're going to work with those investigators. And we're going to make. We're hunting the same people that killed our child. We're going after those people.
As you do it, come back and share those stories with the world and with our audience as well. The strength and dignity that you guys display every time you're here is just remarkable. Yeah. And to you, happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you so much.
Big 2-1 tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Christy, Steve, Aubrey, thank you. Thank you as always.
Okay. Very interesting clip, y'all. I think at this point, we just need to hear the truth. Even if it's Kohberger's truth, even if it's someone's truth that aligns with the evidence. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I know this was an impromptu live long stream. I was going to do the 6-hour today. I messed up my schedule. I realized it at the last minute. And all of you, I appreciate. Freedom Friday will be a 6-hour live starting at 9 a.m. Be here. I'm going to drop a video that I promised yesterday. I'm dropping it today. You guys are not going to believe this. I think we pretty much know where the G's are going. I think we really know. Stay tuned. Thank you to my mods. Y'all all freaking amazing stream. The energy, the information that you guys bring to the table just blows me away every single day. Remember, this is here on Phoenix Talks, the August effect.
And it's up to the state to bring evidence and a jury to decide if that's different.
Essentially convicted in the media. You don't have to read but a few articles to see how negative they are about him. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent.
They call it the August effect. A quiet pull, a heart's compass, finding its gravitation. A promise whispered to the future. Sunrise paints the window pane a hazy gold. A story in my chest that's waiting to unfold. Used to trace the lines of maps I'd never seen. Now the greenest pasture grows from deep within. Letting go of every anchor, every chain. washing off the dust in cool September rain. This is the freedom, wild and new, the future calling, breaking through a heart's true north, the sky of blue. This is the promise coming true. The road ahead is unwritten, vast and wide. No need to run, no reason left to hide. Every step a choice, every breath my own. On this open field of chances I have sown. This is the freedom, wild and new. The future calling, breaking through. A heart's true north, a sky of blue. This is a prominent truth. The August effect, I understand it now. It's the faith you find somehow. The promise coming true for you. The greenest pasture.